By the end of the day, your shoulders are just spent. And I don't mean like good workout spent, I mean just done. And at some point, the things that you never used to think twice about, you quietly start calculating the cost of. Like, is it worth it to park all the way in the back of the parking lot? Do I really need to go back for the milk that's all the way at the back of the grocery store? What you're doing is that math. Is this worth the pushes? That's how you know fatigue is starting to make your decisions for you. And a lot of the time, that is not your body being weak. That's your chair charging you too much for every single push. Today, I'll show you the three things in your setup that decide what each push costs. And together, they make a huge, actually a huge difference. Because the energy leak on most chairs isn't in your arms at all, it's the physics happening underneath you. My name is KJ Phillips. I'm an ATP and SMS. Welcome to Adaptive Solutions. Let's get right to it. I'm constantly meeting patients, and immediately my eyes go to how their chair is set up. And the grand majority of the time, these are small adjustments that add up to a big compounded difference that makes your pushing easier or harder. Makes sitting up easier or harder, makes it either more or less costly to move. That's the whole idea that we're talking about today. Because what you're actually doing here, you're using your arms to do the job that the huge muscles in your legs used to do. Think about that size difference when you're pushing a manual wheelchair. Your legs, your glutes, quads, hamstrings, these are the biggest muscles in the human body built to carry you around all day. Your shoulders and your pecs are much smaller, and they're already doing everything else you need. Transfers, dressing, reaching, working. And it's not an efficient trade. Even with walking, about 20 to 25% of the energy that you burn to do it turns into work. The rest turns into heat and consumption. Pushing a manual wheelchair is between 5 to 11%. A big job with small muscles doing it, low efficiency. And so every percent you can claw back out of your manual wheelchair setup, you should. One honest caveat, because this is a balance, using your muscles is not the enemy. That's not the point of this video. In rehab, we want you to load them. We want you to be active, working. That's how you build strength and even sometimes regain function after injury. The problem is not the work, the problem is inefficiency. You have to do what you have to do. So my job is to squeeze every percent of efficiency out of what you're already needing to do. So you're not putting unnecessary wear and tear on your body. And there's a real difference between training a muscle and grinding it. Everything I'm about to show you makes sure the work that you're already doing actually moves you instead of getting thrown away. All right, let's start with the one thing you can very easily see. Where are your arms when you push? Here's what goes wrong. If the chair is too wide, and a lot of chairs are wider than the person needs, you have to reach away from your body to get to the hand rims. Your elbows flare out, your arms come away from your sides, and guess what happens to your strength out there? You are much stronger close to your core. Out, wide away from your body, you physically just can't apply the same type of force to the push rim. That means you have to do more pushing to get where you need to. And that's not just an opinion, we're talking about leverage. The research is very clear. The more your shoulders have to abduct, aka move away from your body, the less effective your propulsion gets. And that's a big part of why you see people in small manual wheelchairs kind of fit like a glove. The closer the fit, the more efficient the push. Now, look at an underlying problem below your shoulders. If your pelvis is posteriorly tilted, kind of like dumped back in a slouch, your whole trunk, including your shoulders, then rolls forward. Think if your pelvis tilts back, your shoulders roll forward. We've all seen posture like this. Same thing happens if someone presses into your lower back. If someone gives you good lumbar support or your chair gives you good lumbar support, it's actually easier to open up your shoulders. That's because there should be a curve forward in your lumbar thoracic spine. And if it curves backwards, your shoulders cave in. You can try it yourself. Put a towel behind your back if you don't have lumbar support right now. You can even exaggerate it. And when you lean back into it, it's impossible to keep your shoulders rolled. So now your shoulder is sitting rolled forward and rotated in, and you're asking it to make power from a bad position. Here's why that position robs you, and it comes down to which muscle is doing the pushing. Two big players fire when you're pushing forward: your pectoralis major, your big chest muscle, and your anterior deltoid, the front of your shoulder. Both are primary push muscles, but they are nowhere near the same size. Your pec major is huge compared to your anterior deltoid, and the anterior deltoid is much smaller by comparison. Now, when your pec does its job, it can pull your arm forward, can push your arm forward, I'm sorry. But when your shoulder, because of your posture, is excessively pronated, that's what this means. Your pec isn't pointing forward anymore, it's pointing down. And so the line of pushing your arm actually doesn't go forward, doesn't translate into forward momentum. Now, when you push, it's hard for you to activate your pec. Sometimes not even just hard, it just won't activate in the same way. It can't drive forward the push, and the only muscles that you're using are your shoulders in kind of an awkward angle as well. So you lose access to your single most powerful pushing muscle, and you're left compensating with a small one. And it gets worse because your shoulder, your anterior deltoid, is meant to move your arm in this direction forward, but it's much weaker pushing up. When it rolls forward, you're no longer pushing straight ahead. Now you're pushing at like a 45-degree angle forward relative to where your shoulder is pointing. So on top of losing your strongest muscle, the very direction you're pushing is working against you too. And all of this puts you at a much bigger risk for damaging your shoulder or tearing your rotator cuff. So here's your check. Right now, sit in your chair, put your hands at the very top of your hand rims, and look at your elbows. Are your elbows tucked in fairly close to your sides, or are they flared out, pushing away from you? Then go to a mirror or have someone take a picture of you and check, are your shoulders hiked up around your ears? Are they rolled forward? Or are you sitting with your shoulders rolled back, kind of what you think when you see someone with nice posture standing up? Kind of like proud chest. If your elbows are flared and your shoulders are rounded, you're pushing from a compromised position, and no amount of trying harder is going to fix that. You're just pushing inefficiently and you're exposing your shoulder to much more damage. And here's the thing, almost everybody in manual wheelchairs that is self-propelling gets shoulder injuries anyway. And so this is almost inevitable. You're just making those injuries happen way sooner. Real quick, while you've got your hands on your chair, I made a free wheelchair fit checklist that walks you through checks exactly like this one. In about 5 minutes, you can run through it. Mark what's an issue on your chair and hand it to your seating team, or you can email it back to me. It's free. The link's in the description. Grab it. Come right back, because the next one is where people are losing, the most efficiency. Second, how much of that wheel can you actually reach? When you put your hand on the wheel to push, where on the hand rim is your hand? If that axle is sitting behind you, think of like if you sit in like a hospital chair, direct, straight out, you just got injured, you're going home. They send you home in a loaner hospital chair where that rear axle is way back. How far can you actually start your push? How long does your push travel, and how much can you follow through before you run out of room to push? You have to recover, reset your arm, and push again. If the wheel is way behind you, you only actually get a short window, a little arc up at the top of the wheel, and that's it. So instead of one long, continuous, powerful stroke, you're doing four little quick, jerky strokes to cover the same distance. And here's the cost. To cover that same parking lot distance, or like think to push to the back of Walmart, you double or triple the amount of pushes. More pushes for the same distance is, by definition, more energy for the same result. Inefficiency. There's a second cost people don't really even think about. Every push has two halves: driving the rim forward and recovery, aka resetting your hand back on the wheel to push again. The recovery moves you zero. That's just overhead that you pay over and over again. More of your effort just goes into resetting your hand on the rim when you have short push strokes. Long strokes allow you to get more push per total work. Short strokes give you that tax that you have to pay over and over again. You're constantly moving your hand to push again. So what do you actually want? You want long, fluid strokes, contact with the rim. You want fewer strokes to go the same distance in a smooth follow through. And whether that's even possible for you comes down to where the axle sits underneath you, which brings us actually to probably the biggest factor in efficiency. Hey, real quick, if you're new here, this channel exists to raise the standard in assistive technology. I give you real education for free for new patients, for clinicians, and for my peers. That's part of just my life's quest to improve lives. Okay, back to it. All right, so this is the biggest one, and it's not in your arms at all. It's actually where your body sits on top of your rear wheel. That's decided by your center of gravity, and you've probably heard this as a manual wheelchair user. This is a physics problem with a big energy bill if you get it wrong. Your chair has two sets of wheels doing very different jobs. Your rear wheels are big. Big wheels roll efficiently. That's why bikes have big wheels. Your front casters are much smaller, and smaller wheels have much higher rolling resistance. They drag, they flutter, they fight you on carpet. It's harder to get over, kind of like terrain. So which set carries your weight? Well, when the rear axle sits underneath your center of mass, the majority of your weight, ideally about 80%, should be sitting on top of those big 24-inch wheels. If you have your center of gravity back behind you, your weight splits between the two sets of wheels more evenly, which is not what you want. You want 80% on the back, about 20% on the front. This is individualized per person depending on how comfortable you feel with balancing, pushing, wheelies, things like that. When your weight is split more evenly between the two sets of wheels, every push you are dragging two small, heavily loaded wheels that don't want to roll. That's the caster tax. Nobody feels it as a cost, but you feel it by getting tired by the afternoon when you're wiped out. This is not just drag, it's also traction. Your rear wheels are your drive wheels, and they can only grip the ground and translate your strength of your push into forward momentum if there's weight on them. Let's go to the kind of silly extreme. If all of your weight was on the front casters and none on the rear, you could push the rims all day and go nowhere. So loading your rear wheels does two things at once. It lifts drag off of the front inefficient small casters and puts more grip underneath your drive wheels. Less drag, more grip just from this one adjustment. If you want to feel the kind of resistance that we're talking about, have someone push your chair empty and then push the chair with you in it and feel how much harder the casters roll and turn. Or the way you can even try this is like by turning. Turn the wheelchair. The more weight is on those front casters, the more you'll notice it's hard to turn. And anything that's hard to turn, it's eating up energy. Same casters, the only thing that changed is like the weight on them. So now the trade-off here and why this is just a conversation with your ATP, your physical therapist, maybe your seating team, not just a Saturday project, is that moving the axle forward makes the chair dramatically easier to push and turn and also tippier backwards. That's real. That's the right spot for you. Based on your body, your strength, your experience in a wheelchair, you need to find how comfortable you are with being tippy versus having to reach far back and give lots of short, choppy pushes in exchange for stability. If nobody's ever looked at your axle position, this is probably the single highest value question that you can ask of your seating team. And here's what's actually on the line. It's not just about being tired. Your shoulders are your independence. They're there for you to transfer. You need them to drive your car, to dress, to eat, to do any type of work you do, getting up off the floor if you fall. You don't really get a day off of moving around. And in a wheelchair, your arms are the only way you get to do that. In one study, close to 40% of manual wheelchair users with spinal cord injuries developed shoulder pain within 3 years of pushing a manual wheelchair. That's in their first chair. So that means even your first chair has a significant impact on whether you get an injury. And when a shoulder goes, it doesn't just take pushing with it. It takes your transfers, it takes your eating, it takes everything else. So you do pretty much everything with your arms. And that's the thing that opens the door to losing a lot of your independence as a person. This is like harsh, but this is the reality you need to realize. And the part that gets to me is how fixable that actually is. This isn't just about pushing through it, gritting your teeth, getting stronger. Some of it is just getting the right setup for you. Squeeze an extra 5% out of your chair and it compounds across every push you take every day for the next several years. If you've got shoulder pain that's like constant, it's getting worse, or you're suddenly losing your ability to push as long or to transfer without pain, this is your sign to make an appointment with your medical seating team soon. Don't just push through it. This video is educational and it does not replace an in-person evaluation. It's meant to help you understand where your fatigue comes from so that you can ask better questions about how to fix it and figure out your next steps. So click on the link below, grab that free wheelchair fit checklist. And if you want a second set of eyes, I offer wheelchair pain and positioning consultations. And if you do it with your clinician, doctor, or physical therapist present, I give a serious discount. Head to my website and book there. The link's in the description. Or you can email me at info@getadaptivesolutions.com and we'll talk more. Next in the series, we're going to talk about fatigue in a powered wheelchair, like a whole different beast, a different set of questions. Because when the motor is doing the pushing, the thing that wears you out is something else entirely. Subscribe so you don't miss it, and while you're at it, like the video, and I know that you know someone that could use watching this video. I know you know someone else in a chair that you look at their center of gravity and the way they push, you think, yikes. So thank you for your attention and your interest, and I'll see you in the next video.